You know, the thing with aesthetics to me, it's literally patients, the bulk, are just wanting to be a better version of themselves. More well-rested, healthier. There are certain people that certainly overdo it, obviously, but for me, it's just the natural, I guess, stepping stone. When a patient feels good about themselves, they feel good in their skin, they're not depressed, they're not anxious, you know, they've done the hard work on the inside. It's natural to then want to look how you feel. And so to me, it's not about any certain sort of ideal, or, you know, we talk a lot about golden ratios and aesthetics, and none of that's never impressed me. It's literally helping you to feel better in the skin that you're in.
Welcome back to the Strategic Life Podcast. I'm your host here, Jake Havron, and we are in the office of this guest that I have on the interview today. And this guest, she is a doctor, but she's just so much more than a doctor. She's actually a businesswoman. She started off in accounting, growing up in Georgia. Now I'm here in South Carolina, where their office is, and it's so special to be here right now because the only reason I'm here, as I was doing this East Coast traveling, I was in Miami and New York, and I hit her up and I was like, hey, I'm kind of on the East Coast. Can I stop by and do an interview, maybe get some treatments? And she was like, absolutely. And I got connected with her because I built this friendship with her husband, Craig, who runs an incredible worldwide business called Koniver Wellness. And her practice is Koniver Aesthetics, and they have this dynamic duo where you get the internal optimization and the external optimization, and they are just taking over this world, transforming people's lives. And I was like, I want to be a part of this mission. And so I wanted to extract this. We went through her story of how she basically got to where she is, which you want to hear about this because that's where the aha moments will happen in your story. We go over tactical strategies for aesthetic uses of products to enhance the opening of your eyes, the whiteness of your eyes, products to get rid of fine lines. This is for both men and women. And we even go over a new device they have here in site that you could come see. Yes, you could get virtual stuff or products sent to you, but you could come and get this device that gets rid of acne 100%. And they're the first place in this entire state to have it. And so much more. Mindset, we talk faith, we talk culture. You're going to want to listen into this one very adamantly. So make sure you sit back, listen in, enjoy this conversation I'm having with this amazing human. So without further ado, I'm going to be introducing you to Dr. Keli Koniver. I'm really excited to be here though. Like this is so cool how we lined this up. And the only reason I lined it up, or we lined it up, and I'm grateful that you made this happen, is like I was like, hey, I texted you, I was like, I'm on the East Coast. We're here in South Carolina right now. And I was like, I'm in Miami, I'm going to be in New York. I was like, I can make a pit stop. And I was like, does this day work? And
here you are.
And you're so busy too that like, this is awesome. And we're in your amazing, one of your IV rooms. But, I just wanted to just like touch up on how this practice right now is booming and it's only getting bigger. But like a couple years ago, like this just all started. Was it 2015 that?
Right. So we've had the wellness side of the practice now for 18 years.
Oh,
so when
18 years.
Yeah.
Wow.
So when we say we just started, I mean, we really just started the aesthetic side. We branched over to that in 2015.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it was like a whole different name and everything, right?
It's been a journey, to say the least. We opened under Coastal Skin Solutions.
Okay.
And then when we moved to this office a couple years ago, we rebranded so that it was Koniver Wellness and Aesthetics.
I like that. What was, like, let's just get right into it. Why did you go to like Koniver Wellness and Aesthetics?
It was confusing for patients, quite honestly. I mean, we've, since our inception, have worked with the wellness. Mm-hmm. We share a lot of patients, because people, you've read it on our website, you've heard me talk before. Yeah. When people feel good, then they want to look good, and vice versa. So we do share a lot of patients.
Such a great business model.
Yeah, it's definitely a built-in referral base. And we just found it was confusing, like just the little things of multiple business names on the front door. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? It was just a little awkward. So when we moved to this office, we rebranded.
Wow. So you had multiple business names now, so it's confusing. Did you have, because there's entrepreneurs, people that are, always rebranding their companies or their names, or even me, I've rebranded a couple times. Uh-huh. what was the actual, like, was there a person that mentioned you should do it? Was it just kind of like you guys were like, God, we're getting clients that are thinking we're this or that? Like, what actually put you over the edge? Because that probably was scary to think that.
Super scary. And, we learned a lot of lessons the hard way doing it. Just the little things that you don't anticipate, like Google My Business and all of the various directories that your name is listed in, the phone numbers, the businesses, the vendors that you do business with. It was a lot. We did not hire the correct firm when we did the rebranding on the marketing side, and there was a lot, as in a ton, lost from an SEO stance.
So you did feel a little bit of impact through the SEO side.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot that we would have done differently, but
and
I do think now it's a lot more streamlined for patients.
So much.
And it's just...
And it sounds good too. Koniver Wellness, Koniver Aesthetics.
Right.
Like, it's not just a basic last name. It's a pretty prestigious last name.
It's different, yeah. But it encompasses what we are. This is our life's work. So,
and it's straight to the point. It encompasses what you are. Aesthetics and wellness. I'm like, oh my gosh, it's simple, right? Does it always have to be so simple like that with your branding? No, but when people search up or hear or see a tag, because you have all these, and we're going to talk about, you have these celebrities that are getting your services and products. You have very influential people. When they're tagging Koniver Aesthetics, some random person that sees that, they're going to be like, oh, I'm more curious about that than if they saw the name before, which is this long name that really didn't maybe pertain to them. So
sure.
I think that was such a good move. So now your SEO was not, or it dropped a little bit, but 5 years later, I'm sure, is it way better than it was?
It's better than it was, but we still could use a lot of help. In all aspects of marketing, we could use some help. We've been very lucky that the bulk of our patient base has been word of mouth. So we've not had the exorbitant marketing budgets that, a lot of these other businesses have had to spend just to make an impact.
Which is wild that you say that, because you guys are global, and it's also humbling to hear that, because there is always room to improve. And I look at you guys and I'm like, oh my gosh, you guys are like growing, and you're about to grow so much more. But just for someone that doesn't know about you, like, share a little bit about just like what you do as Koniver Aesthetics, like who you are, and like how this kind of like all came to be. Like, just kind of like, just start with the story of like where you came from.
Well, Koniver Aesthetics, it truly is a passion project for me, to say the very least. So I did healthcare consulting for Deloitte & Touche for many years. They're the largest accounting and consulting firm in the world. Loved it, learned so much about business, so much about what I did not want to do. But the thing I've always wanted to do was skin. And when I say skin, people are like, well, did you want to be a dermatologist? Did you want to be a plastic surgeon? Those are generally the core specialties. I'm not interested in warts and moles and rashes and skin cancer. So that took, nor was I interested at that point in an additional 10 to 15 years of schooling. So that took the dermatology off the table. I'm also not interested in the cutting, the surgery side. So that took the plastic surgery off the table. So at this point, I was doing my doctorate. I was getting a doctorate in health administration here locally at the Medical University of South Carolina. I just had this idea. And I thought, well, what would this look like? And let's explore it. And I hit my first roadblock when I learned that I had to have a physician, a medical doctor, licensed medical doctor, physically on site to do any of these lasers or energy devices, injectables, et cetera, that I was interested in delivering. So then I met my husband.
And your husband is a doctor.
He is a doctor, yes.
How the heck did that come to be?
I was actually his patient.
Really?
Yeah, I was his patient.
So he was doing wellness at the time?
He was, yes.
Yeah. So you went in to get some wellness treatment?
I did. I was having postpartum thyroiditis, so I developed a thyroid issue after I gave birth, and had bounced around to a few endocrinologists, and then found him. He's not an endocrinologist. I say it was divine fate, because we just clicked immediately.
Wow.
Yeah.
Did you think he was an endocrinologist and it was like an accident? How did that happen?
No, but even though he's not an endocrinologist by trade, I think the vast majority of his patients would agree he understands hormones and endocrine issues in a way that most endocrinologists don't.
Yeah.
So he was profoundly beneficial.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
You know what I love about that story, and I would love for actually in a second here to go a little further back about how you started, and you actually started in accounting and that whole process. I think that's a very beautiful story to see where you're at now. And, you know, for people that are maybe feeling like they're in the wrong job or they're doing it just to get the bills paid, like that story gives hope. And I'm like, you got to share that again. You know, we're sitting, I was getting an IV for people listening in, NAD, which stands for
nicotinamide adenine dinucleotide.
And that's
the magic potion.
The magic potion. It's like, I call it like the limitless pill, like, but even though it's an IV push, it just removes the brain fog. I feel like I had a second wind. I had 4 hours of sleep last night, caught a plane at 8 a.m. and got here, and now we're in South Carolina. But you were sharing that beautiful story. But before that, I just wanted to go into, you know, you connecting with Craig, who's an incredible wellness doctor. You guys are a tag team, wombo combo. I love it. But that is so powerful because you were working on yourself. You knew that you needed a physician, and then God just has this beautiful way of lining it up perfectly. And so, like, when you saw him, tell me a little more about that, if you're okay with that. Like,
sure.
When you were sitting there, like, I mean, was it like instant, like this guy's just like attractive, or did you just have this innate soul feeling of like, holy crap, I feel some different way? Like, what was that? Like, was it instant?
Definitely, I felt a different way. But so I was actually skiing in Vail, Colorado with some friends, and I'd been referred to him several times over the years. And every time I called his office, he was literally on a 6-month waiting list. So I just said, forget it. And I was skiing with some friends in Colorado and was describing some of my symptoms. And one of the friends that we were skiing with said, oh, there's this doctor at home, because they lived here as well. You've got to go see Craig Koniver. And I said, well, too bad, because I've tried several times and you just can't get in with him. So long story short, she said, well, I think you should try again because he's amazing, blah, blah, blah. So I called his office that day. To the way he describes it, and you can ask him, he knew when we spoke on the phone.
Oh, did
so
he?
for him, it was pretty instant. It wasn't instant
for me. He heard the accent. He could tell.
guess so.
He's like, I hope she's, you know, what it sounds like. And
I guess so, yeah. But, you know, I had another boyfriend at the time. So.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, so, again, things always work exactly the way they're supposed to. But I knew when I came to his office that first time to do the blood work and all of that there was something different. I couldn't explain it, but something different.
Yeah, that innate, that deep internal feeling of like, I've maybe never felt that before. Right. It's been so long, but it's like, wow.
And so there was no business at the time. So I wasn't, I was finishing my doctorate degree. So, I mean, I wasn't.
Which was also kind of like perfect timing, though, because
it was.
You couldn't even get a facility yet until you had a
100%. Yeah, it was. Because, you know, everyone in my cohort, I mean, they're in senior leadership positions in healthcare organizations, CEOs, CFOs, whatever. And that was the next logical step. And it just serendipitous in so many ways.
Did that cause any potential resistance in the sense of like, oh, she just needs me because I'm a doctor, or was that not
No, we were already very, very deep in by the time that I decided to do all this.
And how long have you been together?
8 years.
Oh, so amazing. And now, like, the empire you guys are building and like the way that you do business, let's transition into this is, you know, he has Koniver Wellness, been doing that for a while, working with top athletes, influencers, day-to-day people, but like giving them the edge. You know, my saying when I train teams, speak on stages, it's get the strategic edge.
Right.
Every little thing matters. The NAD that I got, getting the strategic edge. Aesthetics, that's a strategic edge. The way you look, people are judging you whether you like it or not, or they do or not. It's a subconscious thing.
It's your calling card. I mean, your skin is your calling card. Yeah.
It's your business card. Everywhere you go, like, if you didn't look the way you did, and yes, like, there's really no other esthetician that looks like you, especially, and we're not going to share your age, but
I don't know about that now.
No, we're gonna have to cut that out if that comes out, but that won't. But you look amazing. That's also part of your business. And imagine what would more or less people do business with you if you looked out of shape, not taking care of yourself, but you're trying to sell them skincare. You know, there's a lot of people out there that are fitness trainers and don't look that way. So all of this is like getting the strategic edge. And what I love about what you do, and I want you to get sciencey, I want you to get detailed here, aesthetics. What is that all about? Why is that so important? And why should people right now like perk their ears about what they can do with this?
Yeah, so aesthetics takes on many different forms. Obviously, we're a non-invasive to a minimally invasive facility. So we're not doing surgery. And I think that's important because, well, it's important to describe the significance of the minimally to non-invasive.
Yes.
The change that we make in this office is literally measured in like millimeters,
I love
right?
that. The 2 millimeter shift is what I always say.
It is, but if you think about it, the earlier you start and the more often you're doing these treatments, I mean, you literally can stave off a facelift. And then if you get a facelift, that's one snapshot. That's one moment in time. You talked about my accounting background. I describe the facelift as like the balance sheet.
Yeah.
That's a moment in time,
Yes.
but you still want to maintain the quality of your skin. So starting these services early and often is literally the key to where it's at. You mentioned my skin. I do a lot. It's not natural. I work on it. But of course, the day we record, I am trialing out a stronger percentage of tretinoin, which is similar to NAD. It is a miracle potion for the skin.
Is it an injectable?
It is not. So it's a topical product that it's a vitamin A derivative.
Talk more about that, because there's definitely, I mean, what is it for? What does it do?
Yeah, so it's been around for decades, but it's a vitamin A derivative. So you have 3 key skin cells: keratinocytes, melanocytes, and fibroblasts.
Okay.
It's one of the only topical products that can stimulate all of those. So the easiest analogy, you like to work out, it's like exercise for the skin. So when you were young, if you look at younger children, their skin is just flawless. And we're not putting things on them. We're not putting copious amounts of moisturizers or whatever on them. Their skin is just naturally glowing. That's because that cellular turnover is high. So what happens as we get older, it gets much more sluggish. So what retinoids do is they remind our skin, hey, we got to get going here. So it starts to turn the skin cells over.
Wow. And how fast does that work? Like when you put that treatment on?
So the challenge with them is it can impair the barrier. So you get dry, red, flaky, irritated, itchy. And that can happen pretty quickly. We call that a retinization period.
Okay.
For most people, it lasts a couple of weeks. I've never seen anyone that has not been able to get through it, assuming they're on a dose that's appropriate for them. And there's lots of doses, strengths on the market now.
So is it a progressive dose? Do you have to take it every day, or is it a one-time thing you put on?
So there's some varying schools of thought on that. I think lots of dermatologists and just people in this industry would say, let's titrate it. So let's do it a few nights a week until we can build your tolerance. I don't subscribe to that. And mainly because I know myself personally, we're creatures of habit. And if I tell you, hey, Jake, use this 3 nights a week. Okay, well, what 3 nights?
Right.
And then before you know it, a week is gone.
And I haven't done it. And
yeah.
It's the best product in the world, but it's just sitting there.
And every time you restart, all of those barrier concerns come up again. So then people were like, well, I'm allergic to it. Oh, I've tried Retin-A many times, and I'm sorry, I can't use it. I'm just allergic to it. I personally have never, ever seen anybody who's truly allergic to Retin-A.
And you've treated a lot of people.
That's just your keratinocytes doing what they're supposed to. So that's actually a very good sign.
Yeah, that's why I love, like, when I found out about you guys, and let me just quickly share how I found out. I was just listening to a podcast. You were on the Skinny Confidential with your good friends, Lauren and Michael. And, I just heard about these optimization humans. And then, I was more into the wellness side, but then I hear you speaking with Craig. I was like, wow, this is really good. You're sharing all these things. But what I love about you guys is that you have so much knowledge, so much research, so much practice-based evidence. Like, you're actually like going out and doing it, but you don't follow the status quo. That's why I think it's so important that, you listening right now to really take these notes down, to obviously find their website, find their info. Everything we talk about will be in the show notes, but like, these are the people. That's why we're doing this interview. I wouldn't take an extra flight to go to South Carolina to do an interview if you weren't the best of the best.
Well,
and especially
we appreciate
my
that.
eyes. But it's not just my eyes, it's all the people. So let's talk more about that. So this retinoid, can they get it from you?
Absolutely, yes.
No matter where they live, they could just order it?
No matter where they live. And there's varying strengths of retinoids. So, we sell retinaldehydes that converts once in the skin. We sell retinols that have to converse twice in the skin. And then we sell like a true retinoic acid, Retin-A, tretinoin's the generic. But for every conversion that takes place in the skin, so, it's like a tier system. Every conversion, it's more buffered. So there's always trade-offs. I can give you a product that's more buffered. It's going to take longer to work. It's not going to work quite as good. Or I can give you a product that's going to work really well, but you're going to have, more
some
side effects.
Yeah. The redness, the dryness potentially. But like you said, that's not a reaction. That's just the normal process.
Absolutely. That's telling us it's actually working, so it's not a bad thing. And there's things that you can do, like moisturizer before or moisturizer after, which will help. Yeah.
So now, for the person that's listening right now, they might be like, well, I have good skin, or, I'm young, or maybe I do have some acne problems or wrinkles. Like, what is this product specifically for?
Well, cellular turnover. So if you think about it, short of sunscreen, there's no better product on the market for the skin ever than a retinoid. And so you stopped making collagen when you were about 18 years old. And then when you fast forward time about 10 years, you're now losing it. So all this is doing is thickening up the dermis. It's helping with cellular
Wow.
which, is all things skin quality.
So they're going to notice what?
Fine lines will be just everything. You're just rejuvenating collagen.
Like you said,
so
it's the
lines,
magical post.
Yeah,
Holy
fine
crap.
lines are diminished.
Can I get started on this?
Absolutely. I'm surprised you are not started on it already.
Well, is this a common thing, retinoids? I've heard the name, but I'm sure quality matters, and the way, like you said, titration.
They do, yeah.
So even if someone maybe like is using retinoids, this is probably different.
It depends. I mean, if you think of it, the retinoid is literally an umbrella, and it encompasses a whole host of different classes of retinoids. So with retinoic acid being like the upper echelon, and that's what we're ultimately wanting to get you to. But again, going back to what I said, people will say, what dose should I be on? I want to be on a stronger dose. The best retinoid for you is the one that you can tolerate. And ideally, you can tolerate daily. So I would rather like gradually stage you up than give you something that you're so irritated you can't use but a few nights a week. Then you forget. Then we start this process all over again, and we take a couple week to month retinization period, and it's now extending 6 to 12 months. That defeats the point to me.
Okay.
I try to be very practical, because you have to remember, I'm a consumer first.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I just try and be very practical with people, and I always ask them, like, what is your commitment level? If you come in here and you're using Dove soap once a day, I'm probably not going to put you on
Axe body wash.
Yeah, I'm probably not going to put you on a 8-step system, because clearly your commitment level is not, quite there.
So good. And if you're a man listening right now, like, stay tuned in this. This is why I wanted to have Keli on here, because we're going to talk specifics for men, but I hope you really understand that aesthetics is not a feminine thing. And maybe it had that rap in the past, but can you speak more on that with just aesthetics, and especially with the males and what you've seen with people you served, maybe influential people, like...
The thing with aesthetics to me, it's literally patients, the bulk, are just wanting to be a better version of themselves. More well-rested, healthier. There are certain people that certainly overdo it, obviously. But for me, it's just the natural, stepping stone. When a patient feels good about themselves, they feel good in their skin, they're not depressed, they're not anxious, they've done the hard work on the inside. It's natural to then want to look how you feel. And so to me, it's not about any certain sort of ideal, or, we talk a lot about golden ratios and aesthetics, and none of that that's never impressed me. It's literally helping you to feel better in the skin that you're in, whatever that looks like.
What have you found for men? What is the things that make them feel better? Let's say in their mid-30s, maybe, early 40s.
Oh, Botox, obviously.
Yeah.
So the sooner you start on that, the better that is.
Like, what areas for Botox, like for men?
Well, for men, it's a little different than women. For women, we recommend full face treatment. It just gives you the most natural look. Most men, they're going to do it in their foreheads, their glabellas, or around their eyes.
What about the guys, the men that are thinking that, like, well, I don't want to look like a Ken doll or things like that. I'm sure you've heard that stigma. Like, how do you best answer to that?
A lot of the people that look like a Ken doll are people that want to look like a Ken doll, for starters, so don't let them fool you. The other thing, too, there's a lot of greed in this industry. I'll just be quite honest with you. Particularly since COVID, I've noticed more and more of it. But the industry has exploded. I mean, it's a multi-billion-dollar industry at this point, which is in stark contrast to when we got in it back in 2015. So, we're almost 10 years in now, and it's changed dramatically. There's a lot of competition. This area in particular is getting very congested. So you have tons more places fighting for the same pool of patients. And people just get greedy, and they're not ethical, quite frankly. And you have people that come in and show you photos. The minute someone shows me a photo, I automatically just kind of am not happy on the inside,
You mean like a before and after photo of them?
No, like them is one thing, but
photos of what they want to look like.
Exactly, because that's just not that's not our style.
How
That's
do you
not
handle
my
that?
style. Yeah, delicately.
Yeah.
There's a difference if you're showing me like something you don't want to look like or an ideal. How do you think she achieved this? But I mean, we're still working within the constraints of you, And the best results are not trying to look like someone else. They're trying to look like yourself, but better,
Has there been a situation where someone came in and you said no to them?
Plenty of times.
Plenty of times?
Yeah, and that's really where just the ethics come in. It's like one thing in business that people don't realize, because so many people, remember, this market is congested.
Yeah.
Lots of folks moving in here. I mean, I literally have had multiple calls within the last year from various private equity firms. There's lots of money pouring into this industry at this point. So
has there been like a situation where someone's come in with a crazy photo or like something that's so out of like unrealistic for them to attain? Like, have you had to tell them no? Or?
Sure. Yeah, that happens often, actually. And it's really just the being ethical, and honest and transparent with people. So I mentioned that this industry is exploding.
Yeah.
Lots of new businesses opening in this space. You think about it. So healthcare is literally done, has been done. And
like hospital stuff,
it's
like
just
very
a
like
mess
old school
with
style.
the insurance and all of this stuff. The model is broken. It's very much a take this for that. You've heard my husband talk about it. Pharmaceutical model of medicine. So healthcare is done.
I love how, not to cut into you, but I love how like profound and proud you guys are to talk on that stuff.
Yeah, it's very broken.
We'll talk about
We'll be
after,
censored, but it's the truth. So there's a lot of different people jumping into this space. And no disrespect, because I've obviously jumped in this space, and the only thing that has prepared me for what I'm doing today is literally just a desire to want to do it. So I've done everything to be able to do it, But you have dentists, you have orthodontists, you have chiropractors, lots of different non-core, non-traditional people jumping into this space just because they're looking to make a quick buck.
Yes.
And it shows. So I think the thing in business that people forget, what a lot of these people forget, you're not making money on a patient the first time they're in your office or even the second time, and likely not even the third. So if you want to be in this, it's literally a long game. It's the long game in every facet of your life, but it is certainly the long game. So I can tell you something that you want to hear now to take your money now, but how is that setting us up for the long game? It's not, because then you're going to go down the street. So yes, we absolutely have those situations where we have to say to someone, this is not realistic. You're not going to be happy with me. And one of the things that I think we do a very good job of here is most people go into a practice and they're complaining about one individual facet of what they're doing. What can you do about these lines? Or what can you do about these lines around my mouth? And the practice will address those, right? You put a little Botox here, put a little filler there. The patient leaves and they're happier.
Yes.
They're never wowed because you've not done a proper consult and addressed all the various facets of aging. Now, why don't you do that? Because they think that they can't afford it, or they won't afford it, or they don't want to pay for it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And,
yeah, totally.
And you just have to be open and honest with people. And I think that is one of the things that has set us up for success here is that I treat people the way I want to be treated. I'm a consumer first. And I just think that that's been beneficial for us.
So good.
Yeah.
You listening right now, that was cash money, because you think like the aesthetic industry is oversaturated. We got people who are coaches. They have e-commerce. They're consultants. They're in real estate. Like, talk about saturated right now, quote unquote. But every one of those industries, they also have the people that are trying to get quick bucks.
Sure.
And you have people, like you said, they're medical doctors coming in to get the quick buck, and hey, like that's fine for them. But the thing that you gotta hear right now is that Keli talked about this thing of the ethics and the values, who you are, and that's such an esoteric word at times, but something that stood out. And I actually want to go on this question deeper. But like you said, I just want to be always a consumer first. Which means basically that, like, if you're going to take it, or if you're not going to take it, you probably wouldn't provide it to someone else. Right. Is that what you mean by that?
Well, there's a host of things I don't want to be sold to, you know? My entire approach to everything we've done in this field has been rooted in education. And the reason I do that is because I feel like when you educate somebody on whatever the topic is, you're empowering them. And you're empowering them to make their own decision. So I don't need to sell you anything. I'm going to educate you, and then I trust you to make the decision that's best for you.
And that energy shift right there of just like not trying to sell someone 100%. Is what makes them actually want to buy more. People are trying to push these products on, and they have this commission breath coming off. And hey, look, I get it. There's some times where I've gone through this in my life where I had to literally make ends meet. You know, there was more month than the check.
Yeah.
And even if you're in that situation right now, it's being able to go into that next call, that next prospect call, sales call, whatever it is, and just realize and take away that need, that force of like needing to make a sale. And your business very tactically does that well. You have a consultation. People come in, they say they want Botox. Great, let's still do a consultation, because what happens is you really find out they don't want just Botox. They want to feel good overall.
Right.
You find out that they actually have maybe struggle with other areas of their body, and you're not going to try to go and manipulate them. And that's, once again, ethics. You're not going to go and try to make them feel bad and look bad so they pay more money. You're going to listen to what they really want. Little shifts like that. I'm just identifying this because I like to extract greatness of who you are. And for us to all hear on this show right now, that is what makes you stand apart.
You know, it does. And I've done a lot of consulting in this industry now as well. And I will tell you, any industry, the cream always rises.
Cream always rises.
It always rises. And you can play in the mud with messy people or people that are not doing things ethically, or, you know, the law in the medical spa space, particularly in the state of South Carolina, is super loose. It's almost like the wild, wild west. It's a little more buttoned up now, but even still, there's a lot that happens that shouldn't happen. You know, it's very clear that you need medical oversight. Well, medical oversight comes from a medical doctor. And I guarantee you, if you walked in half the practices here in the state of South Carolina right now, you'd be hard-pressed to find a medical doctor. But again, the cream always rises. So that stuff works while it's working. But let me tell you, if there's ever a complication, if there's ever a legitimate problem, you're going to want a medical doctor.
Yeah.
And so to me, it's just like it's who you are as a person. Like when you do the right thing, that carries over not just in your personal life, but to every aspect of your business. And I'll tell you this, it's a lot more expensive to be in compliance. Compliance is not cool. It's a lot of work and it's a lot of money. But again, the cream always rises.
And it's doing what's
We're
right.
doing things safely.
And the longevity is going to play its part.
Right.
The spike of the quick income won't be as exciting. That's what people get that dopamine hit on, is how could I get that quick buck? How could I just sell whatever I want to sell to this person just to make the money, but I don't think with the longevity.
Right.
That's why people do that. They go into real estate for 6 months, 2 years. They go, you know, join different company here, company there, just to try to make that money. But your mindset is different.
It's the long game. Although we did recently get fined by the medical board, and you'll find this funny. Anyone who's watching and you're in a medical spa, please make sure you don't make this mistake. We weren't wearing our name tags when they came in.
Oh, how dare you.
So for every person that was on the clock without a name tag, there was like it was literally like $2,500. It's like a don't quote me on the exact amount, but $250 fine per person that
oh my gosh.
Quote us.
You know, I would have fined you too, because I like knowing people's names. And if I walked in there and I was like, what's your name? And there was no name badge, I'd be like, there's a problem here. But that's my own thing. No,
well, we used to monogram them on the scrubs, and I don't know what happened there, but here we are.
How funny. Well, yeah, if you want a medical practice, which I know people are listening, and definitely some of you are, do not forget about name tags. Have them on there.
Yeah.
That's so funny. God, I want to dive a little deeper into this part of the ethics and values, and I think that's just something that is not talked a lot about. And would you say that comes from the top, aka the leader you? Like, is that your own ethics and values? Is there a system that you implement to basically duplicate that? Like, how are you bringing those ethics and values into this company?
It's a lot of trial and error. We obviously have a tone at the top between myself and my husband.
Yeah.
But I will say we have finally, knock on wood, the very best team that we have ever had in all these years of business. And so a lot of that stuff. Shout out to the Koniver team. Yes, thank you. A lot of that stuff is hiring.
Yeah.
Now anyone can say anything on a interview or on their resume. So some of that again is trial and error. And then once you get people in here, it's not just about training. Our training could obviously be a little better. We get busy and not every little facet is covered in the way that we would like it always. But it's just patience and repetition. And then mirroring who you want them to be. Like I've always, to me, the customer service piece, it floors me how people in 2022 continue to get this wrong. So customer service is literally just a numbers game. That's all it is. 99.8% of my patients are happy. Thank goodness. That means I can afford to make the 0.02% the same way. And it's crazy to me when you call a business or you have an issue with a business and you've got your front desk arguing with a paying patient. Like, again, that goes back to empowering the people that you surround yourself with to make decisions that whether you always agree with them or not, there's no decision that you or anyone here can make that I can't fix. And I'd really believe that. So I don't need to babysit or micromanage you or any of them. You just try and cultivate that type of environment to where people feel empowered to act.
What would be a few tips, maybe like 1 to 3 tips or advice you could give to someone that whether they have virtual assistants, they have a team like yours, either e-commerce business or brick and mortar, what would be a few tips of how to empower your people to build that culture, tactical stuff?
Well, so when we first started, a couple years in, we have an outsourced HR company, and they start talking about the importance of policies, procedures, training manuals, and that stuff is just so mundane and boring and such a time drain, literally. And I thought, no, we don't need to be a well-oiled machine with all of this corporate, red tape. We need to be a money-making machine. And so what are we doing all of this for? And it took several years before I understand. So what I would say, the piece of advice is you have to be very clear on who you are and what you want before you can expect someone else to read your mind. And then when you document that, and that's not quick, it's not easy. It could take a month, 6 months, a year. It's a lot of documenting, and then things change, so it's even more documenting.
And documenting, you mean by what?
Your belief system on those things. Just little things. How do you handle no-shows? All of the different things that you deal with in your industry. You have to understand your stance on it, and then you have to document it so that you can train. And at that point, when people are trained, it's just a matter of holding them accountable. Now, we've lost our fair share of patients over the years for our front desk holding people accountable to, our policies, our procedures. That's fine. That natural attrition it's needed because those same people are the ones that do not respect your boundaries. I mean, we're over the top generous with patients, and we're proud to be. This is our livelihood. We are so grateful that they trust us. So it is a natural desire to want to help and do for people. But there are times you have to enforce policies. Yeah. And the best thing you can do is just equip your people to do that and then support them when they enforce that, regardless of how upset patients are. You'll lose some, you'll gain more. but the ones you gain will be okay with the way you do things.
The raving fans, the ones that
100%.
stick around. There will be people, like you said, the attrition, they'll always fall off, and you cannot be attached to those people because those people weren't meant to be around you.
Absolutely.
Just like how, for you listening right now, you've probably leveled up into new levels of your life, and there's friends and family that start to despise you or look against you like you're not meant to stay around them. Don't go back to their levels. Yep. Keep rising. And it's the same thing with patients too.
You've elevated past their energy.
That's exactly it.
Yeah.
How do you that last part you mentioned, it was how do you support the people? So you've given them like your values and such, and then like you said, whether it's good or bad, you support them. What does that actually look like?
For me, the first thing I try and do is walk the walk. Like, don't tell me. It's the same thing I tell the girls with before and afters. Like, quit talking about it. Don't tell me, like, show me. So I've cleaned the bathroom so many times, I can't tell you. I mean,
it is a pretty nice bathroom.
Well.
Did you do that today?
No, and we're renovating our suite, so things are all over the place. But yeah, I think you mirror what you want them to do, and then it's constant reinforcement. So how have I supported them in that? There's been times where patients have not been happy because we've had to enforce a cancellation policy on someone who's canceled, for the last 9 times at the last minute. And that's not always convenient or comfortable for them either, but just in supporting them in that.
It's really good.
Yeah.
Just for you listening, what Keli just shared there is whether you have a team of 1, which is you, or a team of 100 and you don't have, if you're using those policies, the standard procedures, like the things that are so archaic that yes, they play its part, but look, if you don't look at that, why would your team look at that, right? So if you are in that position or you don't have nothing for your values, ethics, do what she said, which is extract who you are with your business, your operations, your methods of procedures, like write it all down, like write how you would handle just like in sales, if someone gives you an objection, what's your response? But it's the same thing when, someone shows up late or, when the certain product is out or whatever that is, but write that all down, extract that, because the moment you extract that, it's easier to communicate to your team, right? It's one thing to have it in your mind. It's another thing for them to see it on paper, because now it's like something that's neutral between both of you.
Sure.
So many leaders, I'm sure maybe you could, you've gone through this and maybe you could touch up on it more. It's, you have things going through your head and you have all these ideas or all these things that you want other people to do, but the communication of you trying to express that usually is like there's a breakage between that. Have you ever had that before?
Of course, everyone has, But and you've obviously nobody really cares how much you know or what you think. It's how you can communicate that to them. So it's always a learning process, But I do think that my way is not the only way, and in most cases, it's probably not even the best way. So when you surround yourself with the right people, the next thing is you have to learn to empower them, And that wasn't necessarily easy for me. Coming from a Deloitte and Touche days, I had a hard time delegating. And I don't know, you get older and you get more time under your belt, and most of these girls have 10 times the brain power I do. Yeah. So it's just really empowering them. And like I said, it's also the knowing that so much in business is trial and error. We do not know until we try. And even though you've tried and it's worked for you, it may not work for me. And that's the same thing in skincare. Same thing with services. Good. Like we're all so different in our situations and circumstances and businesses and industries. It's all so different. But you really have to have a risk appetite. You have to be willing to try and say, this didn't work. And I think for me, it's just the comfort of knowing, like, I mean, statistically speaking, most things don't work. Yeah. But I'm also confident in my ability to fix them.
Absolutely.
We've brought in so many bad products over the years, so many bad services, et cetera, and you just have to pivot.
Let that hold you
it's
back.
Literally just pivoting.
It's part of the process.
100%.
You're gonna strike out 7. I say this all the time. You're gonna strike out 7 times out of 10,
right? And
you'll still be an all-star Hall of Famer if you hit the ball 3 out of 10 times. Like that is the crazy thing about this life. And if we mess up, we get one product bad, we get one bad review. We're like, it's not for me. You got to change that mindset, and you're such a prime example on that.
Well, every moment in your life prepares you for the next, and that sounds so cliche and just motivational speaker-ish, as you said.
Before we were talking, and I was like, she was giving all this good wisdom, and actually I want you to share your story right after this, but I was like, are you sure you're not a motivational speaker? And she's like, no.
Definitely not. I need to motivate myself first. But yeah, every moment prepares you for the next. And in business and life, like, it's just a process, you know? You just have to experience it.
There you go. See, there's your motivational speaking.
Yeah.
There's a quote.
It's all part of it.
Put that on the badge right there. That little quote right there. You've done consulting for 10 years before this. Businesswoman. Could you share a little bit about your story that you shared earlier, just of how you started, just where you grew up, you know, and that whole process of you going to where you are now? I think that's such a beautiful story that I don't want to keep to myself. I would love for our audience and the listener here to hear.
And I don't know which part specifically you're interested in, but I'm from South Georgia, a small town in South Georgia. My father was a farmer, and my mother was a postmaster. And so grew up with a very strong female role model. Between her and my aunt, who's now passed away, had very strong female role models in my life. Super close relationship with my dad. And I was the first in my family to ever go to college. And you're talking lots of kids, lots of grandkids, great-grandkids, et cetera, et cetera. And so I didn't exactly have a ton of not only resources in terms of money, we had zero money for me to go to school, but I also didn't have a ton of guidance because no one in my family had done that. So I was working with a guidance counselor. He said, what do you want to do? Well, I'm 18 years old. I have no idea what I want to do. But unlike a lot of my peers, I needed to figure it out pretty quick because remember, I'm paying for it. If it's happening, I got to figure out how to make it happen. And by the way, I'm not going to study political science or art or gender studies. Like this has got to count, you know? Yeah. We got to get in and get out and make it count. And so yeah, I was working with a guidance counselor, and I said, I want to do something with business. And he said, well, what? And I had no idea. I'm 18 years old, which, you know, I think it's interesting that a lot of these kids nowadays are put in the position to where they have to make these big decisions at this age, and then that's why we get all the student debt, and then they're waitressing from now on, and it's just tough.
So much
I can't get into that because I will get way off track and probably say things that cannot be videoed.
You are bold, and we won't go down that path. But you are so bold in your truth and what you believe, especially going through this whole craziness with the whole thing that happened the past 2.5 years. And you know, it's just you and Craig just spoke out so boldly about the truth of the health and medical field. And so I just want to acknowledge you on that.
Well, we appreciate it. It's a tough position to be in, obviously, because there's so many opinions and everything is so politically charged now on all of that. You'd be hard-pressed to get a straight answer from anyone, you know? Half the people that are telling you to do certain things are doing different things in their own personal lives, so it's just silly. But so anyways, the mentor that I'm working with said, okay, so if you want to understand business, you need to get an accounting degree. And I remember thinking, debits and credits and taxes, absolutely not.
I'm right there with you.
Hard no. And he said, well, here's the thing about accounting. So in order to truly understand business, you have to know how a business makes money and how they spend money. So more so than marketing and, you know, all this other stuff, learn accounting. So I slugged through 3 years of college to get an undergrad degree.
God bless your soul.
In accounting. Yes, and then I did a master's and MBA, and I actually ran cross country for the Citadel.
Okay, so you were an athlete. So
I was a college athlete. I did gymnastics growing up, and was good but not good enough. I had a growth spurt in the 6th to 7th grade. And you know what people don't realize as gymnasts, and obviously things have come a long ways, and this was 25 years
don't date
and
yourself
25 pounds ago, but maybe 35.
Stop it.
40. Okay, so anyways, every inch you grow in gymnastics is that much higher you have to jump to cover the same, you know. So I had a growth spurt, and I knew at that point that I likely was not getting a scholarship in gymnastics. You know, the big schools had it, so Georgia and Alabama, Tennessee. It wasn't like every school had gymnastics. And I actually played on my boys' varsity golf team in high school. So I had an opportunity to play golf in college. Had no interest in it. I absolutely hated it. I really wanted to tumble, and I wasn't good enough to get a scholarship. So what happened was I started exploring these loopholes. Again, you had to pivot. I had to get innovative. I knew I wanted to go to college, and my family just could not afford it. So what I learned is, well, I can cheerlead. This was when cheerleading was, coming up. And so I actually went and got a scholarship to cheer in college.
You've never cheerleaded before?
I did in high school. But, my passion was the gymnastics.
Wow, what a pivot. Looking for the opportunity.
I needed the opportunity for sure. And so I did joint enrollment in high school. So when I graduated, I had about 60 credit hours. So I did 3 more years in college, and I finished at CFC. And then I was actually training for a marathon. Never run before. Like, I'm talking maybe 12 to 13-minute miles. I'm not fast. You could walk as fast as I was running. And I'm training for a marathon with Team in Training, and part of our route that we ran was down at the Citadel. And on the team, I met this guy who wound up being the athletic director for the Citadel. And they had a superstar athlete that was going to be there that year. And I can't even remember her last name. Her first name was Sharon. And
shout out to you, Sharon.
Yeah, they had an opportunity. She had an opportunity, essentially, to win the big trophy for the Southern Conference. She was the best. I'm talking like a 15-minute 5K. And again, don't quote this is so many years ago, but about a 15-minute 5K. The girl was super fast. But they needed five girls to enter each race. That was like a NCAA, whatever rule. And they had 5, but they needed an alternate. So I went on a full scholarship to do my master's degree down at the Citadel, which is...
And they wanted you because the Citadel it's like a male-dominant school, right? Or it's
98% male. Yeah, it's a military school. Yeah.
So that's why. So this is the story right here, and I want you to continue, but I want you listening right now. She not only pivoted, found the opportunity to go be a cheerleader, get a full scholarship. Amazing. You had a little experience. You dabbled in it. Your main focus was gymnast, but you still got the opportunity. Amazing. But now you're going and doing a marathon, which you absolutely despise, right? You're doing something you don't like, and the most beautiful thing happens in that. What does that relate to in your life? What's the thing that you're not dealing with? Like even the accounting factor, you didn't really enjoy it, but that birthed this whole 10-year path of consulting, and then now you're in Koniver Aesthetics, and now you have this business mind that sets you apart from all these other maybe business owners that just got their aesthetics degree or certification or whatever it is. Like all those things that you may feel like you don't enjoy. Find the blessing in it.
Absolutely.
And that right there, you're partnered up, and I'll share the little detail that you shared with me. Partnered up, the man was much older, and the reason why you partnered up is because you were probably really slow, and so that was the same speed. You guys could be at tempo, and in that mix, you were having a conversation with him. He got to know you. He had no other reason really besides there was not much other women to find, but
None.
but he trusted you to give you a full scholarship because of the connection. In that moment, that would have never happened, and you would have never wanted to go to that school, even think about that.
No.
You were like, why would I go to a military school unless he right there was saying, I'll give you a full scholarship, take care of your doctorate, and get you your master's degree.
Absolutely, yeah.
That is so powerful.
Yeah, but that goes for so many things in life. Like, so again, everything prepares you for the next thing, and that's why one of the things in business that people don't realize is we are all so unique, and we're all so unique because all of our past experiences are so unique.
Yes.
So we can take the same thing, work in the same industry, like we're not competing with each other. You can't compete with me.
No. There's probably no other esthetician that has a background like you.
But we can't compete because we're so different.
Yeah.
So I just think when you own that and
you got to own it.
You got to own it. And everyone's path looks different to get where you are. But another thing I feel like has served me well, certainly in this industry, because there is a lot of, it's very superficial in many ways.
Yeah, trust me, I'm in a coaching industry. There's a lot of superficial egos.
Everywhere. And it's very superficial. But I just think it's not only being true to you, but not worrying so much about what other people think of you.
Yeah.
If people like you, then you're probably doing something wrong. It's just being yourself and saying, I don't even think of you at all. So why on earth am I worried about what you think of me? It's just a different approach that I feel like I got from my father growing up.
Yeah.
Not approach, but it's just a mindset. And I think it served me well in
Such
this
good
very
mindset.
superficial, very competitive industry.
But the mindset for you is, because for people, they hear that and they'll be like, oh, this person is just like, they're rough around the edges, that like she doesn't really care about me. But the beautiful thing about that, and I know you listening right now, you have this as well, is that's aligned with your spirit. So
Absolutely.
you have that mind without the spirit, you're going to be out in that business and people are going to be like, I cannot even stand that woman.
Right.
But because you have that ethics and the values of who you are, you know your calling, and I know that you're a faith-driven
I'm not even
woman.
talking about patience. I'm not even talking about
You're just
patience.
talking about in
I'm talking
life.
about in the industry. It's a very competitive industry. It's a very superficial
But
industry.
even in life, I bet you're like that as well. Like you're empathetic, but also you don't care even if it's just a personal thing. Like you're so like fixed on what you want to do that if someone talks behind your back, you're probably gonna be like, okay, screw you, but like you're gonna move forward because you know what you want.
Yeah, 100%.
Like that, and people get hung up on
Right.
little stuff like that. Like have that mindset of like, look, if I'm not gonna even, if I don't really care about what you're doing, why would I even think about what you think of me? Like people think they have to always worry about what they're saying, and they get one bad comment, or that person says you shouldn't be doing that. But I love that because you have that mindset, but you also have the spirit, and when those are aligned, I believe that that's when just true leaders come out, and that's why.
Well, I have a ton of faith, so that makes sense.
How has faith played in the business side for you?
How you treat people. You know, every business, every industry is simply people, and how you connect to people, and how you make them feel as well. I've not gotten it all right by any stretch.
Yeah.
But it's, it's knowing that I can make it right because I do genuinely care about helping people. That's why I'm in the service industry. I'll never forget, I hired a girl who was an amazing injector several years ago. And I'm going to stop saying too many specific because she's still in the industry here. But it just occurred to me, if you are in the service industry and the only person that you are interested in serving is yourself, you've missed the boat. You've literally missed the boat. So I think that's at the core of not only my faith, but it's just serving other people. Yeah. So that's what I feel called to do. I've always felt called to do. Yeah. So I enjoy it.
Have you noticed anything in the business or even coworkers, colleagues, people, just you're not, I'm assuming I don't know you, but I could tell that you're not pushing the Bible and throwing it at them again, but you just being a faith-driven leader where your essence of, your faith is coming out as your servant leader. You're following probably the practices of Jesus and how he shared and loved people. But have you seen shifts in people around you because of the way that you live?
We have an awesome team here, so it's hard to say, but I want to be very, very clear that we have a extremely inclusive environment and culture here.
How so?
That not only are we not talking about things like that in the workplace, we're just very open and accepting of all types of people. I don't subscribe to, the greatest show of your faith is your actions.
Amen.
It is, and I don't subscribe to people that sit up on a make-believe throne and that just is not my approach. So, and you're first and foremost called to love people, not judge them. And really the people that think differently than you, I don't know about you, but I like to be around people that don't think like I do.
You don't want to be in an echo chamber.
That's how I learn. That's how I grow. And guess what? You might even change my mind on some things. So I like being around people that don't think and see the world through the same lens that I do. But I'd like to think that my faith is very clear in the way I conduct myself and the way I treat people. That's always my goal.
And you've seen a definitely a significant impact in the way you've ran your business and the way it's grown because of that, right?
I would like to think so, yeah.
Wow. It's like that right there is, someone right now, whether you have faith or not, it's not about, and you could feel this. We're not saying you should be a faith believer or faith driven or you're going to be screwed. That's how we run business as well, is we're just those examples, the characteristics that we hold, that it's not about us, it's about serving, it's something bigger, it's about the altruism, but also knowing that you can't do everything. And I don't like using the word can't, but in this situation, I truly believe it is something you cannot do everything by yourself.
Right. 100%.
We are not made as humans. We've seen many, many tried and true examples of people with all the money in the world, people with all the women in the world, the men in the world, people with all the significance in the world, and they're still lost.
Right.
It's because they think they could do it themselves. So for us right now, and maybe you're sitting there right now, maybe you are doing decently well and you want to get to the next level, like realize that whatever your faith is, you already know if you're on the show, you already know that I'm a faith-driven leader. I'm very bold in that. It's so amazing to hear that you're like that too, Keli. But even if you don't have that, find the characteristics that can be showing of that. The characteristics of the servant leadership. What are some other characteristics that you've seen that stand out because of your faith?
Integrity.
Integrity.
Yeah. I think that's probably the biggest.
Wow.
You know, in treating people, patients, the folks that you surround yourself with, I have a lot of empathy. A lot of empathy for people. And I think that has been really beneficial in life. You know, people can only see the world through their own lens of the world, which is based on their experiences in the world, you know? So you just have to have a lot of compassion and a lot of empathy for people. And that's not always easy at all, but I do think it's very necessary. You don't have any idea what's going on in people's life at any given moment that has made them the way they are.
Yeah.
There's a lot of unhealed trauma, you know, a lot of unhealed trauma.
We all have it.
Absolutely. So I just think
good.
if you can be very empathetic and understanding, it's not easy though.
Yeah, especially when you're trying to still be by the numbers, building business, balancing, taking care of the people, but realizing the business still has to be profitable.
Yep.
Huh.
Yeah.
So good. This is like everything. Like, I hope you're taking notes on this. I hope you're like, if you haven't already got value from this amazing woman, make sure to find her, by the way. Where can they find you on Instagram?
Koniver Aesthetics. We're no longer hacked, so we're back in business.
Oh yeah, we had a little situation where she got actually hacked, not fake accounts. I have all the fake accounts.
We have those too, but
it's just terrible.
That's flattery at this point.
Yeah, I know. It's like, whoa, we made it. You know, people are telling me that, like, you must make it. I was like, if this is the sign of making it, then I'm got it all wrong.
I'm like, can y'all run our Instagram too?
Yeah. They're pretty good with their DMs. I tell you, they're learning quick. But tag her, tag Koniver Aesthetics, screenshot this, tag me, shout us out, and put the things that are standing out, because as you know in this show, it's not just about, you know, just the typical thing. She's an expert in aesthetics, but gosh, you're learning from an aesthetic business that is, how is she handling her people? How is she growing? What's the story? You weren't even, you know, like originally in this. You started off in accounting. Like, let these things transcribe into your own beliefs, your own mind, that you can understand this. And Keli, I just love what you're sharing here. I do, you know, as we kind of just wrap up here towards the end, I do want to talk a few more tactical things, aesthetics.
Sure.
So we talked about the retinoids.
Right.
Okay. You also have this other product, and then also we'll talk about some other new products you got coming out, that is with like the skin around your eyes to open up your eyes. Talk to us. Tell me about it.
You're talking about Upneek.
Upneek.
Yeah. So, and we've compounded our own version of it that combines Upneek with Lumify, which is just a whitening agent. It's a smooth muscle, my tongue's tied, a smooth muscle relaxer. So all it's going to do is open the eyes a bit.
Like the skin on the top?
Yeah. Have you seen yours?
I don't know. Like,
it looks really good.
She gave me some before, and I was like it looked like I was bawling. It wasn't because I was actually bawling or hurt. It was like because I had to put a couple drops. I don't know. Do I? Like?
It looks really good. Yeah.
Oh wow, you can see it.
So it's just opening up the eyes. It's a smooth muscle relaxer. They call it a bluff in a box. So we've got that. We have a new product that's coming out called Brow Wow.
Oh. And
Brow Wow is amazing. We kind of stumbled into it a little bit, myself and our esthetician, Holly, who's awesome. She came from Doris Day's office in New York. And we were using a product for our hair because we both had post-COVID hair loss. And then we learned that, hey, this is actually working really well in the brows. So we sell a lot of Brow Wow, and it's awesome.
So it's like, is it like topical? Like,
it is. Yep. You use like a little mascara spoolie and paint it on.
And so that's for people that are like, maybe they like have thin brows, they pluck too much, like
gone through chemo, whatever the situation
What about even
is.
for like men? Can men use that?
Totally.
Like
yeah.
more, will it make them more like bushy brows? I mean,
that's all the rage now.
It is.
I'm working on mine right now.
Wow.
That is the
Do
rage.
you have some pretty good before and afters?
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Wow. And so like for the brow wow, when do people see results with that?
So it's topical, so like anything topical, you got to give it some time. Biggest thing is consistency. So patience, consistency.
You just put it on a
couple months.
Nighttime?
Yep.
Okay.
Once a day.
Once a day. Any side effects?
None that we've seen. It could burn a little bit, if you get it in the eye, but it's for the brow, so you shouldn't be getting it in the eye.
Some people have some crazy hands.
People have some crazy things that happen. But no, we've never, ever had a single issue with anyone.
I don't think I've ever seen a product that does what Brow Wow does. I've seen microblading. So how is this different?
Well, it's natural. It's just a topical product. Whereas microblading is a procedure. It's a treatment where they're drawing the little strokes on your skin.
So it's not actual hair. Like it's like the microblading is not like it's just literally they're making it look like hair.
Yeah, and I don't do microblading, so don't quote me on the science of how it works. But it's just little ink strokes, if you will.
Yeah.
Where this is growing your own.
Actually growing hair.
Oh yeah, actually growing hair.
And you've had multiple people like see results with this?
We have, yeah, it's good.
How is this not going to blow up? Like I've never seen anything else
we'll
out there.
See.
My business mind is going like, all right, well, how do we expand this, grow this? Like
we're very excited. It's just taken longer to get to market because of packaging and all the delays over in everywhere from COVID and other things. So I'm hoping we'll have it very soon.
So anyone that has thin brows, maybe bad plucking way in the past or something, but even men that maybe have a little sparsity, because I have like a little like I think scar like on my
son
brow.
does too.
So then that kind of makes it look a little off, especially if you're in front of camera, you're on social media. If you're listening to this, like you want to get the edge. I already know that. So these little aesthetic hacks, it's safe. It's
totally
safe. Side effects. Interesting. And they can find that on your site?
They will be able to.
Okay. By the time.
So it's a prescription product. So we do have a few extra hoops we have to jump through. Namely, we have to do a virtual consult before we can sell it to you.
Okay. Pretty simple.
Very simple. Process. Depends on. It's just part of the process because it is prescription grade products.
Okay.
Ingredients.
Which is great. You're getting the best. High quality.
Yeah, and I mean too, anytime you're using a prescription, if somebody is not willing to talk to you, answer questions, make sure you understand it is a drug, so there's certain things, I would not trust a product like that. So it is a barrier for sure.
Right.
But it's also a good barrier.
It's a good barrier.
Yeah,
it shows that it's legit and you need to talk to someone and it's not some shady thing.
Right, exactly.
Going back really quick to the Upneek or the what's you just call it your proprietary blend or you can
we are naming it. It's now called Eyes Wide Open, which we don't love, so we're renaming it.
Okay,
but the concept's the same. It's yeah.
So for who would that product be for? Because
everyone.
So basically the skin above your eyes. Just make sure people understand it's really clear. Like that little like almost like hangover. Like I was telling Kelly. When I was in college, I think it was like my freshman year, I went up to get a rebound, came down, and some guy tried to smack it on my hands and literally put a finger in my left eye, and I thought I like died. Like,
yeah, it was that's pain.
They say that the cornea is one of the most sensitive places in the entire body. I could not see; my eyes were just shut, but my whole eye swelled up. Gratefully, I scratched my eye, but it healed, no problem. So I'm so grateful for that. I thought I literally lost an eye. But my entire eye swelled up and it messed up all the tissues. And yes, like, I think it's very subtle. No one really says they notice a difference, but I did.
Right.
And it really, really bugged me. It was like a little bit of a looser skin. And I'm excited. I didn't even get to see what my eyes look like after, but I was like, does this stuff actually help with the lifting of the upper eye?
Well, I don't have my phone to show you what yours.
But they
look really good. Yeah, so you think of it. Most adults, or certainly women over a certain age, have some degree of acquired ptosis, or just the lower lying lids, heavier lids, heavier brows, and all this is doing that smooth muscle relaxer is just opening them. It's not a surgical level result, but it's a few drops and you're done, and it lasts throughout the day.
So good. Yeah, it's literally a few drops.
It's great. And so what we did, the reason we had to compound it, It's because we wanted to, what we found or what we learned is that patients were not wanting to use both Upneek and Lumify because, Upneek has a whitening component to it, but it didn't rival that of Lumify. So patients were like, I don't want to be using multiple eye products. So that's why we compounded the two together.
So it's like literally whitening around your eyes.
It is, yeah.
How important is just the aesthetics of eyes, especially meeting people, connecting, like white eyes, bright, open eyes, like...
Well, it's youth. I mean, that's, associated with youth. It's funny, you saw us on the Skinny Confidential podcast. Have you seen their amazingly beautiful daughter?
Oh my gosh.
She has the
Big,
biggest,
eyes.
Their son too now. Big, pretty eyes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It really does make a difference.
It does make a huge difference.
It's a cute little daughter for sure. Wow. Yeah, that's honestly like, and for men, that's once again, listen in, like this is the little edge, the things that if you have obviously the droopy eyes, you look tired. I felt like I looked tired. Like I didn't like that. My eyes, sometimes I wake up and I was taking Lumify before.
Right.
Now I don't have to. Recently taken Lumify because I realized that I don't like how my eyes are slightly like red.
I have that too. My allergies are terrible.
Oh, if you have allergies, I'm sure it's even worse.
They're so itchy.
This helps even more. I'm assuming for making it look better. And it's opening your eyes and wow, that's
this is a step above Lumify for sure.
Step above.
And I've used it also.
Okay, love it. This is tactical. Everything will be in the show notes. There are links to get this. We'll have it all set up. I want you guys to leave this episode actually taking action. Get one of these. The reason why she's on here is not to just talk about this and try to share this and you do nothing. This is for what is going to get you the strategic edge in a safe, ethical, very effective way.
Right.
Do you have some new products coming out or any other things that...
We have a couple new devices. One, we're the first practice in South Carolina to get it. We're so excited. It's called the AviClear.
Okay.
And it is literally going to replace Accutane, which is crazy. And there's 0 side effects, 0 downtime, and in the clinical studies, 0 non-responders. We are so excited. We have been so patiently waiting, and they chose us as their launch location, and we're very happy to have it. So we start treatments tomorrow.
Wow.
Yeah, it's literally going to take the acne world by storm.
I didn't have a problem with that, but I know so many people that have been on that.
I did, and it is
you share on
awful. Yeah, I mean, just like most teenagers, your hormones are crazy. Mine added insult to injury because I was an athlete, so you're not washing as much as you should. And it's funny because my son has acne now, and he was the patient in the demo for the AviClear.
Oh, was he?
And that's how I knew we had to have it, because it was amazing.
So your son actually got to experience results from it?
He did, and he's only done 1, and full results are not until 6 months after the treatments. You have to do a series of 3, 1 month apart. So I said, we got to have AviClear. This is incredible.
So is it only for acne?
Only for acne,
okay,
yes.
So
so it's interesting, but when you think of acne, so it downregulates the sebaceous glands, so your overactive sebaceous glands, and it downregulates them to prepubescent levels. So it's funny you say, is it only for acne? That's what it's FDA cleared for. However, excess oil production, the larger pores that you see, you can't shrink the pore size, but you can minimize them. Back in the day, we did photodynamic therapy. We used that off-label to treat acne, and you got a lot of amazing textural benefits, just overall rejuvenation. You're going to get the same thing with AviClear. It is excellent. We're very excited to have it.
And so if someone wants to, because this is amazing.
It is amazing.
If someone wants to, obviously they have to be here in person. Like, how do they make that happen? Because if you're the only place in the entire
We're the only
South Carolina,
place in the state, yep.
Obviously you could come in here and get other treatments alongside it, which I would highly recommend.
Sure.
How would people line that up?
Well, so we could do a virtual consult to make sure they're a candidate, answer any questions, and then they would have to come in and do it. Now, you can do it once a month. We can't do it any sooner than once a month. But for example, there's going to be college kids that can't be here once a month, for whatever reason. You can extend the time in between as long as we need to. So yeah, here's the other neat thing about it. So you do a series of 3. You have to commit to 3 to do it. But once you've done the series of 3, there's not been any person in the clinical study that is now multiple years old that's ever had to have a repeat treatment. That's
Wow.
so impressive.
That's good marketing.
So impressive.
That's a good business model.
And I don't own the companies, so like I have no skin in the game.
Yeah.
We're super excited to do
Sure, you
it,
wish
but
you
you can
did.
count
I wish
on
I
me.
would have been in the company.
I did get some stock finally.
Yeah, okay.
But you can count on me just to be, again, transparent with you. Like all of this stuff doesn't work. So much in this industry is just marketing.
Yeah.
In every industry.
But this is real results.
This is
like, that's
real
why
results.
You're a raving
We're
fan.
real excited.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so and then how do they get a virtual consult to get stuff like this, or maybe any other treatments?
Website, call the office, reach out via Instagram. We're all over the place. Yeah.
Are you going to try to just take their money on the first call and be really snippy, or what are people going to expect when they get a consult?
No, absolutely not. We'll definitely set up a consult, make sure all their questions are answered, and then hopefully, we will get to meet them in our Charleston practice. But if not, we have developed a lot of relationships with a ton of clinics over the years all over, because it's not practical for
Which they would
everyone
also
to travel.
find out on the consult if they can't come in.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't always know them off the top of my head, depending on where you're at, but I'm happy to do some research and make some recommendations for sure.
I had to ask her and make sure that she's not going to try to take your money right from the first call. There are businesses out there like that, and it's not a good business model, but I knew you guys weren't like that. I was just messing.
No, that's not long-term thinking,
No. And look, get a consult. I'm in here, I'm getting treatment. I'm actually going to go do some skin treatment after. There's things here that you could probably never maybe experience in any other place. I'm in LA. Yes, that's the land of all these opportunities, but geez, when I went to school in North Dakota for 4 years, best of luck, I could barely even find IV therapy. I don't think there even was. Even being in Las Vegas for a little bit of time. Las Vegas, there's some areas, but it's not the same. You got to be very careful where you go, especially with treatments like that. But a machine that there's no other place that has it. If you've been struggling with that, gosh, reach out.
It's going to be a game changer. And full disclosure, so we are the launch location in the state. Every derm that is a derm will have this device in very short order.
Yeah.
So, and the treatment is very standardized. That's one of the great things about this industry is it is, for the most part, very safe because it is very standardized, particularly on the device front.
Yeah. Okay. Good. Is there any other things that you would like to share with the listener here? Any other products? Any other thoughts?
Yeah, we're opening a second location here in town, down at the Jasper. We're very excited about that. A couple of weeks.
And the Jasper is?
The Jasper is downtown on Broad Street. It's south of Broad. It's the most, in my opinion, amazing, exclusive building in all of Charleston. It used to be the Sergeant Jasper when I was in college, decades plural ago, but it's now the Jasper, and it is beautiful. They did an amazing job with it.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's going to be quite a level up for your guys' brand.
We're very excited about it. Yeah. Unfortunately, the space is not as big as we wished it was, but we're going to make do.
And that would benefit people that come out. There's going to be more options, more service times, all those things.
Yeah, for sure. And the one of the things that's happening here, I'm sure everywhere, is we have no money, no roads, no infrastructure. The real estate market has exploded. They're just dumping more and more and more people in here. We have no plans for roads, no plans for new bridges, et cetera. People are getting very geographically bound in Charleston. So it's compared to somewhere like LA, it's nothing. But yeah, people don't want to cross bridges. They don't want to go more than 5 miles from their house because it takes forever to get anywhere. I took my son to school this morning. We're 3.5 miles from home, and it's 40 minutes if there's a wreck.
Oh my gosh.
It's just a lot. So there's one way in most places here and one way out. We're a beach town.
Wow.
So
that's my first time here.
Oh, well, you definitely need to see downtown, and you definitely need to see the Jasper. You have to go over and take a class at Form.
We'll have to check that
out. Form is the Megaformer studio.
Yeah, that's one of your companies, right?
It is.
Yeah. Oh, I'm going to have to go get a workout. Probably won't be able to walk the next couple of days.
It's really difficult.
Megaform, is that like Pilates?
It is not. So it looks like a Pilates machine, but it's all strength training.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm down.
It's really solid. Lots of NFL players, NBA players, they're all on that machine.
I love that.
Yeah.
All right. Any other products or things? you think of?
We have some new body contouring stuff, body sculpting that is coming out. It's actually been out. We were late to the game on the body
Is that like
game.
M-Sculpt or Cool Sculpt?
No, we have Cool Tone now, but we were we're phasing that down to Form actually, and we have True Sculpt and the ID and the Flex. So we'll be able to do fat and muscle. And we're really excited about that. The device is not brand new. It's new to us, but it's been out in the market for a while. So we're just getting into the body contouring game. And I will say that it's good because we've had the luxury of seeing what everyone else has done that hasn't worked.
Yeah.
And there's a host of things I'm glad I don't have today, and one of which is cool sculpting.
Yeah.
So, the Linda Evangelista lawsuit and all of that stuff.
Oh, I don't even know about that.
Huge, yeah. So I'm grateful that we were late to get in the body contouring game.
Well, isn't that a life lesson right there sometimes?
Absolutely. Again, you're perfectly prepared for where you are in this moment.
There you go, motivational speaker over here.
No.
I love it. Well, if you're listening right now, realize that you could either one, make a trip out here, because this is not just some random place, some generic place. This is the place, Koniver Aesthetics. And what's so cool is you come out here, get the treatment specific. If you need to do a consultation, reach out, get on a call. But they also have Koniver Wellness here. You can literally get hooked up with NAD, with vitamin drips, the best of the best, which, Craig is a whole nother interview and a whole another topic about optimization internally. But you could do best of both because you guys are, it's same building.
Absolutely.
So, it's going to be just like a dynamic duo in that sense. But even if you cannot get out here, go to KoniverAesthetics.com and you have a plethora of products. And once again, you'll do a virtual consultation.
As well,
and wellness. You could get peptides, you could get NAD, you could get NAD or what is it like?
My gosh, we do patches, we do rapid dissolve tabs, gum. If it's NAD, we've got it.
Yeah, and Dr., just not to go too far on this, but Craig is the main NAD guy. He has the most experience within it. Is that correct?
So he has. So he is the subject matter expert as it relates to NAD.
So
He has overseen more NAD treatments than any clinic in the world, which is so neat.
Yeah.
He's learned so much. And we're huge believers in the power of that.
Oh, it's so game changer. We won't dive into that. You could go search it up. We've talked about that. But, Kelly, as we wrap up here, I just got to really say this has been so amazing.
Yes, thank you so much for coming.
Oh, my gosh. Thank you for having me. And your clients coming in, coming out, you got renovation, all these things. And for you to just have this Joe Schmo come in here and, do this interview, it's very kind of you. I do have one more question. What does it mean to create your strategic life? What does that mean to you?
I think you have to get very serious with what you want out of life, and what success looks like to you. And I think that's something that you have to personally define. It's not what society defines or your parents define or your spouse defines, but what that feels like to you. And I do think it's a feeling thing. So creating your strategic life is deciding what you want to do and what's important to you, and then surrounding yourself with the right people that can help you level up to get there.
Wow. So beautiful and so good. Kelly, thank you for showing up. Thank you for being bold in your faith, for being an incredible leader, and for being someone that always is leading by the heart first. I see that. I'm very acute to watching things and just being in here. I've been in this room or this office for a couple hours, and to see you work with your team and the way that you talk and communicate, even when you don't think maybe I'm around, I'm hearing that, and it's absolutely congruent with how you say you lead your people. So I just want to acknowledge you on that. And I already know where you're going with your products. I already know where you're going with your business, your impact. And I believe one of the things that connect me with you and Craig is that we just love helping people.
Absolutely.
And just transforming lives, letting them feel their best self, not to be better like someone else, but to be the better version of themselves.
Absolutely.
And I just got to acknowledge you on that. It's really amazing. And thank you for taking time out of this episode.
Of course. Thank you for coming.
Yeah. Thank you so much. So you heard it here. We have Dr. Keli Koniver. She is a powerhouse. So make sure there's one ask out of this is to go on social media, Instagram, find her at Koniver Aesthetics. Start following her. Start to see what they offer, the products, the services. They have all these amazing subscriptions that allow you to get crazy discounts on their products. But tag Koniver Aesthetics, tag Jake Havron, take a screenshot of this and put it on your stories. What was the biggest thing that stood out to you? Because if there's one ask, we just ask to share this message. There can be someone in your audience, in your followers, that have been struggling with the acne for their whole life, going on Accutane, getting the side effects, not feeling confident, and this could be the one thing that they find, and you could have changed their life by sharing this, right? Or sharing about the mindset of the business as maybe a businesswoman. There's so many beautiful things. So just tag us, shout us out, and we would definitely restory. I would restory it, and I'm sure Kelly would love to see.
Yes, I'd love to.
The impact that you've been creating, and that's all we want, So other than that, thank you for showing up here. I hope you have a fantastic rest of your day, and as always, go create your strategic life. We'll see you in the next episode.